Hi, we're going to be a little up close and personal today. I also know that it looks like I have pink eye. I don't. We talked about my health last month, having some problems, and guess what? Lucky me, it got so much worse. So I know that you can see on me that life is just beating my... So, bear with me. I wish I looked better too. Okay, July's a little bit spooky. Mid-month is spooky. Probably things that we'll see more so collectively, usually again, as always, with the really harsh aspects politically in the news. As we get closer to the election, obviously it's going to be focused more so on the candidates. I believe on the 11th, if I'm not mistaken, there's an emphasis on his legal stuff. So with that being so close to these major transits, good chance it's related to the presidency. Other than that, power and control dynamics with authority, government. We start with a square to the nodes tomorrow. Mercury's going to go in Leo. Everything's going to start going into Leo. Have another full moon in Capricorn, so we'll have the bookend of a second full moon in the same sign, which is rare within a month, both of which being in Capricorn. Let's get into this month. Let's break it down one by one. God, I literally feel like a bad mother for feeding you guys your monthly content while I look like this. I'm sorry, I'm done talking about it. On the 2nd, the sun is going to square the nodes. So last month, what day was it? We had Mercury square the nodes, and that was on the 22nd. So whenever a planet comes into the bending of the nodes, meaning that we know the nodes are completely opposite one another, when a planet comes into the T-square with both of them, meaning it comes into that little point where it's going to be square the north and the south, it's coming at the bending of them, there's usually like a fated pivot or change or a major event or shift in something. Sometimes it can go under our noses. What happened for me on the 22nd? I don't think anything crazy happened for me that day, but I did start this past week of June. I think that was the beginning of the first day of what was the remainder of June that really started to, I started to have a lot of revelations at the end of the month. Obviously, it would personally be different for everybody, but with Mercury being in Cancer, it makes sense for me. That's as much as I'll say. But there might have been something shifting in terms of how you're thinking, speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, revelations, epiphanies, decisions, transportation, pieces of information, conversations, things like that, that had a little bit of a shift on the 22nd of last month. Having now the sun come into that same area, it might sort of re-erupt or reactivate whatever that was for you, because the sun is now going to be crossing over familiar territory that it crossed over as Mercury came into the square with the nodes, came into the T-square. Sun is ego, it's career, it's personality, but it's authority figures, it's men, it's people in power, it's presidents, it's government, things like that. So I don't know off the top of my head what happened on the 22nd politically or in the news, but perhaps the 2nd, having the sun cross over familiar territory, it will make that relevant again, reiterate it, bring a sense of ego or authority into it, and really emphasize those themes. With the sun being in Cancer too, Cancer is home, family, property, domestic themes, women, pregnancy, children, nuclear family themes, domestic matters, property, housing, women in general, things like that. So we might find that that becomes more prominent. I know last month I said I felt like a lot of the emphasis was going to be on like things regarding reproductive rights. So we will probably see an extension of that because Cancer rules the home, the family, mother, women, wives, whatever, like what we think is like traditional gender roles, conservative roles. And then with Leo ruling children, pregnancy, children, come on, we'll see an emphasis of that stuff. On the same day, on the 2nd, Mercury is going to enter Leo. So again, politically and collectively, children. Children, famous people, celebrities is also going to be big with this. Mercury entering Leo is a fun time with pop culture because it can make things more poppy and more entertaining and theatrical and dramatic. We might see some good movies come out. People might drop some new music that's entertaining. It's entertaining. That's what it is. It's performance and it's entertainment. It's putting on a show. It's like a little child doing a little dance at your family Christmas party and like rendering a lot of attention, and everyone just like, whoa, look at your dance. Like it's fun. It's lighthearted. It's passionate. It's creative. It's very youthful. Again, emphasis on children. When it comes to like maybe more negative, taboo, dark stuff, of course, again, things around reproductive rights, but there can also be things with like children in the news, children in the entertainment industry. This is where we might see an emphasis of, I believe last year there was some movement around the idea of like children that were the kids of family vloggers, like testifying against their parents. The case with, what's her name? I literally don't know her name. I'm sorry. She was a family vlogger and she was like torturing her children and abusing them. She might come back into the headlines a little bit, but really themes around that. It makes me think of, what was that? Was it HBO, Netflix, something special? The one about like Drake Bell and Nickelodeon and stuff like that recently. Maybe, weren't they going to do a part 2? Maybe we'll see that come out this month while things are in Leo, with a trine to Neptune, Neptune 2 being fantasy, secrets, what happens behind, when we pull the curtain back, mystique, lies, deception, manipulation, all of those things might become a little bit more prominent. Maybe something with children and water, water births, water, the ocean, children, or just in general people going missing, disappearances, maybe miscarriages, abortions, like things around death and loss and grief around children. And if it's not just completely emphasized on children, again, it could be like celebrities going missing or disappearing, or secrets, deception, and the revealing of the truth around those themes. However, because it's a trine to Neptune, trines are like really easy. It's kind of like you sneakily got away with something. So this might not be exposure. This might be the part of being deceived. Like the exposure will come later. This is likely something not being exactly what it seems. So Mercury trine Neptune is like a lie. It's like a successful lie. It's like getting away with something, pulling just enough deception to not be entirely lying, but maybe stretching the truth. Things around that, again, entertainment, celebrity, children, entertainment industry, things like that. On the 3rd, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto. That's going to add some intensity to, again, those same themes: speaking, talking, writing, using your voice, communication. Could be an intense day when it comes to conversations that are tense. I don't want to keep using the same words, but like in your personal life, if you have to have like a serious conversation, it can add some power and control dynamics, maybe some manipulation tactics to it. That can certainly be a sense of the truth being revealed and the imbalance that truth causes when you find something out. Mercury opposite Pluto is also, it's a truth teller, it's taboo, it's saying the hard stuff that isn't always fun but is necessary. Venus will trine Saturn on the same day. Love to see this, because that means that Venus being love, beauty, temptation, things that feel good, ease, harmony, mediated conversations, agreeing to disagree, finding equal level playing field with someone that you are debating or working with, relationships across the board, justice, having a supportive aspect to Saturn, being authority, responsibility, discipline, commitment. We have both pleasure available to us as well as practicality. So we can kind of get what we want by following the rules. We can find a solution by being mature and not cutting corners. We can see the rewards and the fruits of our labor by actually doing the real work that is required to get the thing that we want. It's supportive. It's rewarding in that way. It's stable, it's disciplined. It's kind of like literally you can get your cake and eat it too. Like it's not overindulgent. It's like for example, making a big purchase but not an impulsive, frivolous one. You're making a big purchase because it's a good investment sort of thing. So literally or metaphorically, whether that manifests financially, romantically, in our relationships, anything pleasure related, indulgent in our life, it seems to be supportive of our growth and our evolution there. But with Mercury opposite Pluto, maybe it's when push comes to shove. Maybe we need to have a hard conversation or find out the truth or have some intensity around a decision that leads to those themes. On the same day, on the 3rd, Mercury, what's my problem? Neptune is going to retrograde in Pisces at 29 degrees. So Neptune's going to be hanging out at 29 degrees. I've been talking about this for quite some time on Twitter. I believe until like September, and Neptune in general is a liar, cheater, a stealer. Again, it has a lot to do with information, deception, manipulation, lying, cheating, stealing, pulling the wool over people's eyes, mystique to some degree. Again, things going missing, disappearing, loss, grief, disappointment, depression, addiction, escapism, the past, nostalgia, memories, ruminating, psychology, mental health, the ocean, water, like all of these things that have a lot of depth and intensity to them. And to have it station retrograde, I don't know, this is one of those ones because it's an outer planet, people don't always notice it going retrograde because it's kind of this like behind the scenes, like lower hum rather than this loud in your face sort of transit. This happens every summer. The outer planet's going retrograde. So it might not slap you in the face when it happens, but sometimes because Neptune rules that deception, the retrograde cycle can kind of make you see things for what they really are. You're no longer romanticizing things. You're like, oh my God, the truth is right in front of me. How did I deny that the whole time? It's going from delusional to like, oh my God, reality is right in front of me and I have to face it. In some ways, people may become dreamier, slower, getting into that slowness, dog days energy of summer, where you're just kind of like loosey, go with the flow vibey. It makes me think of like those days where the heat is so strong that it's like affecting your thinking, like you have brain fog. But equally for some people, it can be a wake-up call. It can be where they're realizing where they're cutting corners and running away and grappling with addiction and escapism. It will be different for everybody. If you have any mutable placements at 29 degrees, you will be hit the hardest by this, maybe in a more complicated way. But anyone at the very final or beginning degrees of any sign will be feeling this strongly. And when it comes to the mutable signs, so if we're talking about Gemini, Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, any of those ones, you might be getting the more, I don't want to say problematic, but the harsher aspects of it because you'll be having a square or an opposition. On the 5th, there's going to be new moon in Cancer at 14 degrees. Oh, I always do this, guys, where I forget to pull the chart up. So let's see. This is going to be at 14 degrees. 14 degrees is a Taurus degree. And Taurus is very stable. It's grounded. It's realistic. It's practical. It has a lot to do with money, wealth, security, both financial security as well as emotional security, just feeling safe and secure by having your ducks in a row, having your together, for lack of a better word. If we look at the chart, it's going to be somewhat in a bending of the nodes. So again, some fated trajectory changes likely within the opposition between independence and collaboration or relationship. So Aries and Libra, cardinal signs that want to make decisions, be progressive, go, make changes, not stay in the same place. They want change to happen. Cancer craves comfort, but through progression, through making changes and getting stability by doing something. It will be in a sextile to Mars loosely. Mars is aggressive, it's assertive, it goes after what it wants. So that will be very indicative of like, again, making things happen. Likely when it comes to practical changes. So less about this esoteric, like, intense emotional thing, and more so like getting things done, connecting the dots, getting from point A to point B in a realistic, practical way in order to build a stronger foundation for yourself. But it is emotional new beginning because it is in Cancer. It'll equally be in a trine to Saturn. So again, discipline, restriction, maturity. I think maybe people are starting to realize like where they're cutting corners a little bit, where they're trying to loosey-goosely like slide by and get the end results that they want by taking the easy way out. And it's not to say that this is like, oh, I'm going to start making things harder for myself, but that there might be an emotional confrontation of like, in what areas of my life do I make decisions from a place of fear or insecurity or just out of comfort versus what are the things I need to do that maybe aren't entirely comfortable but that are necessary for me to get what I want, to be happy, to be fulfilled, in a way that isn't coddling myself, but rather makes me uncomfortable enough or insecure enough to do something about it and make some things happen. There's also going to be a looser conjunction to Venus, and Venus in Cancer is equally nostalgic, the past, comfort, what feels good, what you're used to, home, family, women, redefining what our sense of home and belonging looks like emotionally and practically, financially. There might be something with having to reflect on the past, where you're standing now, if you've made progress from where you once were, what you have to do to move forward so you're not just stuck in the same place. And a lot of that might come with that Neptune retrograde of having to reflect on, like, where am I running away? Where am I being avoidant? Where am I being in denial? Where am I lying to myself? Where am I lying to other people? Where am I being delusional because I'm too afraid to look at the truth, because the truth is too emotional and it's going to scare me? Like that, those are all things that could be very likely. I feel like I've been saying too, in most people's readings, a lot of them have to do with, like, don't go back to the past, don't do the thing. You know the lesson, you learned the lesson. Why are you going backwards? Why are you looking over your shoulder? And I don't think it's bad to look over your shoulder. Like, that is what self-reflection is. It's looking in the mirror, looking at your past, but it's to learn from it, not to relive it. And I think that that's a mistake a lot of people are making right now, especially with Cancer being so nostalgic and being like, let me just mosey on back to where I'm comfy. But it's not true comfort. It's comfort because it's familiar and you're used to it. It's not because it's actually providing comfort. If it was so comfortable, it wouldn't be in your past. You would have found a way to make it work. And obviously a lot of this has to do with people's exes, people's old addictions, people's old escapist tendencies. And it's like, you stopped for a reason. And when you start lying to yourself and being like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe it was really comfortable, it's like, no, you are too afraid to take steps forward, so you're like, let me just go backwards, and it's going to sabotage you. So try to avoid that. On the 8th, Venus is going to square Chiron, equally picking at our wounds when it comes to our insecurities around ego, independence, standing on our own 2 feet, doing things on our own, hyper-independence, masculinity, looking hard and scary. And Venus in Cancer, Cancer's like the mommy, and Chiron in Aries is like the wounded ego son, where, they lose their soccer game and they're like, well, I wasn't even trying. Okay. Like, yes, you were, and it's okay. It's like, maybe in an adult where a man will, like, ask a woman out very aggressively or something, and she's like, I'm okay. And he's like, well, you weren't even hot anyway. It makes me think of that. There might be some of that energy in the air where it's just like some friction between needing to protect our ego and emotions or circumstances that come up and challenge that, particularly, again, with finances, relationships. Could be, again, an emphasis on women, mothers, women, mothers, home, family, relationships. We might see some things collectively with relationships. There could be some dramatic breakups this month. That might be part of it. On the 8th, Mercury is going to sextile Jupiter. So that could be a good day for, like, manifesting. You're always manifesting, but that could be a good day to, like, intentionally, bring something that you want to cultivate into the material by tapping into your faith and combining that with practical efforts. Because Mercury is like decisions, doing things, connecting the dots, really using your emotions to visualize and drive things. And then Jupiter too is like alchemy of that, and its faith and its spirituality and its expansion, thinking beyond your typical parameters, your typical 4 walls, thinking outside of the box, being open-minded. And with Venus sextile Uranus that day, it's like a switch up. It's a change in taste. It's a change in pace. Venus is what we like. It's what feels good. It's what gives us good experiences. And Uranus being shock factor, unpredictability, changes, unusual circumstances or unexpected, like, variables. This is like switching something up. You used to like this type of person, used to be attracted to this type. Now you're going to try this type. It's not your usual type, but you're going to try it and it might work out. You always used to order this ice cream. You're like, let me just try a new one. And it's like your new favorite flavor. Like, it has that sort of energy to it where there's an abrupt, unexpected, unusual, or less traveled route an alternative route that might become available to you. And engaging in that might end up being far more beneficial and fulfilling than you initially expected. Venus sextile Uranus too, in terms of crypto, like this is a good day to play scratch off. Things like crypto, finances, the stock market, things like that might have an unexpected jump. It's going to obviously vary from asset to asset because each chart is different, but typically this would be a supportive aspect because it's a sextile. It's like a little kiss between the planets in the sky. It's not major, it's not life-changing, but it's good. It's a typical good ebb and flow. With Mercury sextile Jupiter that day too, equally. Jupiter is in Gemini, that's technology, that's social media, it's communication. Again, anything like video games, streaming, crypto, comedy, wordplay, music, technology, AI, anything futuristic or innovative is getting rewarded right now. And with Mercury sextile that, maybe there'll be some expansion to like a new feature on a social media app, on Twitter, on X, whatever. There's something new and fresh on the 8th that I like, that I'm excited for. On the 9th, Mercury is going to trine the North Node. So in the same way that it was square the North Node on the 22nd of June, creating a change in communication due to a piece of information, a conversation you had, maybe an epiphany or a revelation, having this in a trine, so a very supportive aspect to the North Node, is now, it's like very supportive in making leeway, making a very easy, slippery, smooth transition or solution, or how do I explain this? It's making me think of when you're playing Mario Kart and you hit the little, where you get the box and it's like doing the, oh my god, can I think right now? It's doing like the gambling machine thing where you're gonna see what like pump up you get. And sometimes you get the shell, sometimes you get the mushroom, sometimes you get to speed up really fast, right? Having Mercury trine the North Node makes me think of like getting the shuffle of that and then getting the thing that puts you way far ahead than where you are. Like you're in 8th place on Mario Kart and now you're in 2nd place because you got the bullet and it's taking you like somewhere very, very quickly. It kind of gives you an easy, almost lucky way to get towards something, to say something, to express something, because Mercury again is communications, decisions, it's variables, it's connecting the dots. Again, it's social media, it's technology. Having that trine like lubricates the route for you to just slip your way there so much faster than you would have if you were just walking. Does that make sense? I know that sometimes the metaphors that I use probably don't make sense, but I like that. Mercury is still going to be in Cancer, obviously. Or I'm sorry, it's going to be in Leo. That's a good day if any of you are talented, like you're talented in entertainment or performance or on social media. That's maybe a good day to, like, if you have a message you want to share or a talent you want to get recognized for, or like a TikTok you want to go viral or something. Like if it's wordy, intellectual, or entertaining, or thought-provoking, or independent, and brings a lot of attention to you as an individual, that can be a great day to gain a sense of leadership or authority by using your voice and putting yourself out there. It kind of rewards being extroverted in that way, entertaining in that way. On the 11th, Venus is going to enter Leo. Super exciting. I have Venus in Leo. If you have Venus in Leo, you're going to be having your Venus return, so that's exciting. Venus in Leo is equally entertaining. It's theatrical, it's dramatic, it's out there, it's loud. It makes me think very much Barbie summer, like the movie Barbie, all the pink, all the just very like plastic, cutesy, like feminine, loud, almost like flamboyant energy. Again, emphasizes a lot of children, celebrities, people in entertainment, in the entertainment industry, the arts, things that are very loud, things that have the volume up very high, with the sun sign trine. Why am I talking like that? The sun shine trine. What? The sun trine Saturn. The sun is going to be is it still, yeah, it's still in Cancer. So the Sun trine Saturn in Pisces is a nice, emotional, creative, intuitive trine. Very psychic, very dreamy. This is a good month to really go inward. If you want to do astral projection, if you want to play around with like psychology or your subconscious mind manifesting, dreaming things up, visualization, doing even like EMDR and therapy or something like that, this is the time to do so. You have a lot more potential to tap into those more watery themes. Venus trine Neptune on this day too. A little susceptible to lying, cheating, stealing, manipulation, deception. I'm just going to say in general that Neptune is typically a malefic, meaning I find that Neptune's problematic a lot of the time. Guys, I'm sorry. I can't stop checking the battery and then also like looking at how bad that I look. Venus trine Neptune, it just feels like you're playing with, I don't want to say fire, you're playing with water. It's like it's like hanging out with your friend who knows a klepto, but you still love them. And you're like, well, I like them enough to keep them around me. Like, I still want to hang out with them. I know they have this problem, but like, I still want to hang out with them. And then every time you hang out with them, you're like, there are things missing from my room. Like, this person is actively stealing from me. And it's like the idea of the pleasure of enjoying something, but then also knowing that there's something fishy going on. Or like, I don't know, another way could be like you have one friend who's just always on something and you love them, so you have fun with them, but you're like, this bitch is high as fuck right now. Like, and knowing that it's just not reality. I don't know how to explain this, or I shouldn't say that because I am explaining it, but Venus is pleasure and Neptune's non-reality. It's not entirely accurate. It's not entirely realistic. So great day to have something go far and wide in terms of creativity, entertainment, manifesting, things like that. If you're like actively in a relationship where you know you're getting cheated on or something like that, like this is where you're gonna have the best day ever with this person, and then you're gonna get home and you're gonna like look at their Instagram following and be like, I'm literally getting cheated on again. Like that's the sort of thing that comes up with this, because it's very fantasy like. It's like, this is a good day to play in the fantasy, but in the back of your head you're probably like, I know this isn't real. I know that to some degree this is only going to last today and it's probably not going to be as real as it feels right now. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's not a bad aspect. It's a positive aspect. I'm just saying Neptune has that effect. But with Venus entering Leo that day, like grand gestures, big love language things. This is a good day for the cheaters. I'll say that. It's a good day for the cheaters, the liar, cheater, stealers. You know, be mindful of if you're deceiving someone or pulling the wool over someone's eyes. And that's not a green light. I'm not giving you the ticket to do that if you do that, because you likely with other transits will get caught later on. But just something to be mindful of. It's a good day to launch something. It's a good day to put something into the world that you want to like go viral, to go far and wide, to gain a lot of extension, a lot of expansion, to take up a lot of room, to hit a lot of people, to have a lot of influence. Good day for that, especially again in terms of entertainment, creativity, content, things like that. Next day, Venus opposite Pluto. Okay, so dramatic. Literally the next day, it's so dramatic. So let's say you post that thing, it goes viral, and you're like seeing all the numbers go up at night, right? When you go to bed, you're like, hell yeah, I went viral. It's hard to sleep. You wake up and you see that you're like on a Yahoo News headline and something that you said was taken out of context and turned to be so problematic. And you're like, that's not what I was saying. Like, that's kind of this transition of the 11th to the 12th. A lot of intensity, a lot of power and control dynamics, a lot of intimidation, a lot of like, oh my God, this is kind of too much for me. It's a little bit overwhelming. Definitely having to do with social media, the internet, technology, groups of people, demographics of people. It's very revolutionary. It's very innovative, but it can be overwhelming and intense. Venus opposite Pluto. So you're hanging out with the cheater, right? On the 11th. Best day ever. Oh my God. Literally feel like I was in a dream. He bought me all these gifts. He took me out to dinner. He told me that he's in love with me, even though we've only been dating for 4 days. The next day is like finding out this person's a girlfriend. He's married. And you're like, oh, how do I deal with this information? Very intense with romance, finances, exchanges within any type of relationship, even if they're not romantic. Decisions around women, children, family, celebrities. On that same day, Jupiter is going to sextile the North Node. This kind of softens the blow because Jupiter and the North Node in general, North Node being very fated, very intense, malefic in its own nature, but Jupiter essentially being a benefic, wanting to give us good things and create positive change and expansion. It's like having too much of a good thing to the point where you get overwhelmed. It makes me think of when you win, like people winning the lottery and then being like, I literally can't tell anybody because if I tell anybody, they're going to want a piece of this. And it's like the almost like bad side of having too much of a good thing. On the 14th, Jupiter is going to enter shadow in Gemini. So Jupiter isn't retrograde yet. What shadow means is that it's entering the territory that it will retrograde back to in its retrograde cycle. So what that means is that shadow period isn't the actual retrograde. It's like, it's saying pay attention to what's going on right here because we're going to be coming back to this. This is where we're going to be revisiting. So it's important, we'll say the middle of July on October 9th. So from now until October, or we'll say middle of July until October, everything that happens then, it's not to say it's going to be taken away from you. That's not my point, but that whatever growth you have here, expansion, abundance, taking up more room you have here, might recoil not because it's going to be taken away from you later, but because there's going to be reflection around what you gained, what you learned, the wisdom that you got, or the money you got, or the opportunities you got. Whatever is being given to you and gifted to you by Jupiter right now is going to be up for consideration throughout its retrograde cycle, or it might be stunted or slow down as we get into October. On the 15th, the sun is going to square Chiron. I'll also say too, the Jupiter retrograde, well, it's not happening yet, so it doesn't matter, but like things that we're seeing in media, music, technology, apps, social media, people, groups, the news, things like that, what's happening now might change later. Very loose statement, but we'll revisit it when it's actually retrograde. On the 15th, the sun is going to square Chiron. So we had Venus square Chiron on the 6th. This is going to bring some relevance to what was going on around the 6th, again onto the 15th, now having less to do with money, relationships, beauty, women, our connections to other people, and more so having to do with us, our ego, and authority figures. And Mars is going to conjunct Uranus. This is the day that is spooky to me, okay? Mars conjunct Uranus is like crashing and burning. It's catastrophic. It's unexpected war. It's just like, it's like having a propane stove on and you didn't, have a flame to light it and you hear the stove ticking. I'm using this example because this used to happen to me when I was younger and it always scared me so bad. When you would put like the gas stove on and it would go and you would wait to hear the flame catching the propane. But if you didn't have a flame, the flame didn't catch, you're just letting a bunch of propane into the air. And when I was younger, I didn't, have the chemistry in my brain that that's what was happening. And I remember when we moved into a new house, I had the propane like on because I didn't realize I didn't shut it off all the way because it never lit the flame. So I just thought it was off. And then you start smelling it and you're like, what is that smell? Something smells dangerous. Something smells toxic. Something smells like it's burning. And Mars conjunct Uranus is like when you're in a room full of propane and then you take the lighter that you found to finally light the stove, not knowing the stove was letting the propane out the whole time. And then the whole fucking stove catches fire because there's so much propane in the air. It's like accidental explosions. It's catastrophic, like quick as an instant wildfire. It's the same. A wildfire is a great example of this. It's like all it takes is one tiny flame to spread so catastrophically and uncontrollably to everything that it gets into contact with. Mars is angry, it's aggressive, it's violent, it's assertive. Uranus is unexpected, it's impulsive, it's unhinged, it's chaotic. It's like somebody who desperately needs to be on their meds, not telling anyone that they got off of them. And everyone's like, they've been acting a little bit differently lately. Like they've been a little bit uppity. Maybe they're just a little bit manic. And then this person like shaves their head. They're in a different city. There's a missing persons case for them. Everyone's like, where did this person go? And you find out that they're having this like unhinged episode. It's out of nowhere. It's completely out of left field. It is revolutionary in terms of Uranus being groups and communities and social media, again, technology, Mars being decisions, movement, confrontation, aggression. This does make me think of like a violent protest or like looting in the name of like making a statement. Because this is going to be happening in Taurus, it's got to be something with the weather. If it's not political, if it's not some like I shouldn't say out of nowhere, if it's not like this very aggressive political statement, likely by the people, or something happening with the presidency, I would say wildfires, an explosion, maybe very intense weather that's like doing catastrophic damage. Could be an earthquake with Uranus present. I mean, wildfires are vague because it's like every summer I feel like there's wildfires, but this happens every 2 years. That's something else to note. So it's not something to lose sleep over where, I don't want to fearmonger and make you guys think that some awful thing is around the corner. You've dealt with this before. You've lived through it quite a few times. But with it being in new territory, in new degrees of Taurus that we haven't experienced this with in a while. Taurus is weather, it's agriculture, it's land, it's animals, it's food, it's like our accessibility to food, it's stability, it's practicality, it's housing, it's the stock market, it's crypto, it's money, it's just money, it's things of value. I'm gonna say insane weather or climate crisis, or something catastrophic happening financially, or like a very aggressive political thing. It makes me think of it honestly makes me think of January 6th. Like it makes me think of something like storming the Capitol, like literally something where it's just like, how do we even handle this? How do we round these people together? What are we supposed to do with this? I'll try to look up the last time that this happened and include it. And it can very well be accidents too. It doesn't have to necessarily be like malicious. It can be like, I remember at the beginning of 2023, there being, the last time that Mars was in Taurus, I think the last time that this happened, there was so much emphasis with Ukraine, because I want to say that this was July, August of 2022, the last time it was here. Yes, because I remember making a TikTok video about it. I remember talking about this the last time that it happened. I don't remember what happened though. I don't know, I'll have to look into it. But it shakes the table. In our personal lives, not a good day to argue. Don't argue, don't have road rage, don't make a catastrophic impulsive decision. Don't hurt yourself or other people. Don't tempt others to hurt you. Not that that would be your fault, but you know what I'm saying. Don't agitate or antagonize to the point of violence or danger. Be careful with literal fire and metaphorical fire, playing with fire, and technical accidents. Like, don't throw a toaster in the pool that day because it's likely going to kill you. Be careful with that stuff. I'm so sorry, guys. I thought my camera died and something was actually wrong with the display, the retina thing. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's only recording the sound, so I'm only going to be putting the sound in here for the remainder of this. But where did we leave off? On the 16th, Mercury is going to enter shadow in Leo at 21. So same idea of shadow. It doesn't mean we're in retrograde yet with Mercury. It means that Mercury is going to return back to this spot throughout its retrograde period. So again, the territory that it's currently going through right now in the area of your chart that Leo rules is likely going to be up for reconsideration, retracing your steps, slowing down, revisiting these themes. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't mean that if you've had success in this area, it's going to be taken away from you, or it's going to, go badly or something like that. Retrogrades, particularly with Mercury, is just about slowing down and figuring out the details and reflecting and really reconsidering things honestly in your best interest. Like, people don't like it because it brings setbacks or obstacles or challenges or delays, but usually those are to set you up for a smoother transition moving forward, rather than rushing really fast towards the finish line and then dropping a bunch of things on the way. So having Mercury retrogrades in fire signs all year is really just doubling down on like passion, aggression, ambition, determination, confidence, competition. Last year, I believe we had them in, if I'm not mistaken, all the earth signs, which was about habits and routines and discipline and structure and commitment and boundaries. So to have it now in a more aggressive areas of our chart and more creative, more passionate, more spontaneous areas of the chart, you'll find that the same idea is just the same approach is just bringing things up for reconsideration in this area. Collectively, I would say, again, things with celebrity, children, reproductive rights, entertainment, youthful things, the arts, performances, media, pop culture, likely overlapping with like political themes, is likely to have some double backing. Some people retracing their steps, some people taking back some things that maybe they stated regardless of how serious they were, like people saying, oh, I'm launching an album on this day, launching a product on this day, and then there's a delay to it. But again, it's not going to be fully retrograde in July. It's just going to be crossing into the shadow period for the second half of the month. On the 18th, the sun is going to sextile Uranus. Mercury will also trine Chiron on this day. So there's going to be support between explaining, describing, or communicating any vulnerabilities, sensitivities, again, those wounds around ego, authority figures, masculinity, independence, hyper-independence, doing things entirely on your own, with the sun sextile Uranus in the same way that I believe, what day was it? We had that Venus-Uranus aspect on the 8th. We will similarly have like another opportunity to try something new, to have a new approach, to take a spontaneous sort of alternative route to something. It's kind of inviting in change, switching up the routine or your usual sort of circumstances. But this time again, instead of Venus being love, money, beauty, and relationships, this is going to be our ego, our authority, authority figures in general, maybe things regarding our career, our personalities, etc. There might be just in general across July these alternative doors that you didn't see prior, where you're like, maybe I should just go down this path. Maybe I should just try this thing. There's a lot of breaking routine and almost like acting out of character, but I don't think it's in a problematic way. Of course, for some people it might be, but I think it's more so the invitation to like, or reminder that you can just do things differently than you did yesterday. You can wake up and be a new person. You can wake up and change your story. And I like that it's happening in like Cancer and Leo season, especially with that retrograde of Leo, because again, I think some people's like confidence in themselves and belief in self and their ability to stick up for themselves and to stand your ground and to stick up for what you believe in. I feel like we're getting our skills sharpened in those ambitious sort of areas. And with all those like exciting sextiles to Uranus, it's like coming through change. It's coming through us doing things differently, approaching things differently, saying yes to things we typically wouldn't say yes to, and saying no to things we typically just go for because we feel obligated to, or we don't know what else to do, or we've always done it that way, so why would we change it? And actually implementing those changes this month. And maybe Mercury trine Chiron is like confronting that and reflecting on that and being like, maybe I've just been doing things like this out of wounds, out of insecurities, out of fears this whole time, and not realizing like, oh, I could always just, be faced with a decision instead of doing the thing I always do, actually just doing the opposite or switching it up. On the 20th, Venus is going to trine the North Node, Mars is going to enter Gemini, and Mars is going to sextile Neptune. A lot going on. Venus trine North Node, nice, positive, smooth, beautiful, faded themes with relationships, beauty, money, romance, finances, the people we're close to. Very harmonious day when it comes to just being with people closer to us, more intimate relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it's just like a nice, easy day. Having Mars enter Gemini, though, is fighting words. It is taking that very aggressive, assertive planet that wants to confront things, wants to fight things, and bringing it into the chattiest sign ever, which is really going to bring some harsh energy to words. It's also going to bring some aggressive energy to news. We might find that this is that catalytic energy of election season, getting the ramped up, like where news is just doubling down on updates, information, he said, she said, debates, like all of the details of the campaigns, things like that. I would say in general, whenever I talk about Mars and Gemini, I think of the war on words. And I actually I'll link it in the post that this is going to be posted in. I had a video about Mars and Gemini again 2 years ago because it's in a sign every 2 years. It takes about 2 years to get through the zodiacal wheel. And lucky us, we had Mars second Gemini for 7 damn months in 2022, going into 2023. So we'll start to see the revisitation of those themes coming back up again And those 7 months were a long 7 months of words being taken out of context, misinformation. This is when Elon was really grabbing the reins on Twitter and making it his own. And that was kind of, the OG Twitter users' last few moments with what Twitter once was as the Bird app. And seeing a lot of changes with things like AI, social media, technology, the way that we communicate with people, the thought bubbles and echo chambers that we get into online and in real life, communities, words just entirely losing their meaning, and people just sort of twisting everything when it comes to words and communication. With Mars sextile Neptune, there might be something again with technology, social media, apps, platforms, changing in a way that either makes them more accessible, makes them more intuitive, like maybe some more AI generated features, I guess, that are like intuitively try to adjust the algorithm to us. Because Neptune, again, is that sort of fantasy like generated, not so real, but is real at the same time energy. And to have that in a supportive aspect to Mars just entering into this chatty sign, maybe some white lies, maybe some exaggeration around things in the news, or like, again, twisting of words. But I would say in our personal lives, there might be something with realizing how quickly or how careful we need to be with our words, for better or for worse, because it's like read it and weep. Like we say something and it can immediately come to life, like being careful what we wish for, things like that. On the 21st, we're going to have that second full moon in Capricorn. This one's going to be at 29 degrees, so another critical degree. The first one is at 1 degree, I believe. And this is going to be on the same day as Mercury squaring Uranus, oh God, and Venus sextile Jupiter. I love Venus sextile Jupiter. Again, a nice little kiss in the sky between two planets that really want to give us things. Money, pleasure, relationships, beauty, ease, harmony, balance, justice, and Jupiter being good luck, good fortune, expansion, abundance. Having these two planets come into positive contact in the sky is usually just a good old day. So we have a few good days. I would say that Venus trine Neptune on the 11th, great day to, again, launch something, get a yes, play a lotto ticket. I would also attribute that to the 21st. But with Mercury square Uranus, there's, again, some unexpected shock factor or something coming out of left field, something impulsive, shaking the table and really creating a lot of disruptive, unstable energy around communication, transportation, speaking, talking, using your voice, self-expression, etc. This is a day you want to be careful of car accidents, issues with traveling, things around like, and this is less so like if you're flying, I know that people get nervous about that. This isn't me saying, oh, your plane's going to crash. So please don't think that that's what I'm saying. Mercury square Uranus is like getting into an accident because like you weren't paying attention, or someone just flew out of left field. Like there was a fluke with the technical or issue with connecting the dots, or the smaller moving mechanics of the bigger picture not adding up, just as much as it can be flying off the handle and like saying something you didn't mean to somebody. So don't get too tripped up over this idea of like, oh my God, it's a dangerous transit, but rather that it's communication, connecting the dots, and transportation having this erratic nature around it. So it can equally be like, again, one of those days where one airline in particular like screws everybody over that day. You know how sometimes we'll see like, oh, American Airlines, every flight got delayed for 8 hours and they're not refunding their customers, like that sort of thing, where it's just like chaotic. But with Venus sextile Jupiter, I don't even know, like there might be something where the unexpected chaos or breaking news of something that day is like very beneficial for some people with Venus sextile Jupiter. And I believe Venus will be in Leo at the time, sextile Jupiter in Gemini. Gemini, Leo. Definitely, again, makes me think pop culture, entertainment, celebrities, pieces of content, things on social media. With the full moon and Capricorn at 29, this is, again, the bookend sort of second full moon, double ending in the sign of Capricorn, slamming the door shut in that area of our chart for the second time in 1 month. And if we look at the chart for that, it will be conjunct Pluto, incredibly intense, and a sextile to Neptune to the degree. Sextile to Neptune, I like. The conjunction to Pluto, intense and intimidating. having a full moon conjunct Pluto is like endings on endings, like, baby, yeah. Not only were we having 2 full moons in one sign, but we are legitimately slamming the door shut on whatever is closing out here following the 2 weeks of this date. And then into like a full circle 6 months from now, you'll really see that whatever was like bulleted to the ground, dead, done with. If you have any planets at 29 degrees, the final degrees of cardinal signs, or even the very early degrees of fixed signs, this will be hitting you the most and will probably be the strongest for you, maybe some conflicting energy. But Pluto being transformation, death, and rebirth, major endings in general, typically through the vessel of like profound truth, and not changing because we're ready, but changing because we were forced into it in most circumstances. There's something here where it's like you likely know what needs to be completed and closed out in a cycle here. And this is sort of that, dead end, undeniable, can't go any further without letting this thing go sort of transit. With that sextile to Neptune, I like that. I like this positive aspect to Neptune. Neptune being faith, spirituality, belief, manifestation, grasping for faith, belief, and intuitively like manifesting things into the material. Can sound very woo-woo. I know it can sound like witchy. Okay, the astrology girl's telling us to manifest. I understand that sometimes that can just sound like meaningless words, but with an ending is going to naturally come a new beginning. And I think that here, throughout the summer of nostalgia, self-reflection, thinking about the past, people maybe accidentally falling into old cycles, old habits, old routines, old relationships, old addictions, old escapist tendencies. This is that like wake-up call, or that confrontation, or again, that undeniable need to accept something very practically and realistically without emotion. And knowing, okay, something needs to end here. Something needs to change here. And that sextile to Neptune is like the doorway out of like, if I could just think a little bit bigger and stop being so scared and letting my paranoia take over, and instead turn paranoia into faith. Because all paranoia is, all fear is at the end of the day is just bad beliefs. Whereas hope is positive beliefs. Turn it into hope. Maybe I could wiggle my way out of this and actually have a better ending than I thought, a better end result to this expectation. Maybe I wouldn't look behind me so much if I thought that there was something more positive in front of me. And having to let go of something, old habits, old traditions, old routines, even generational cycles, things that have existed long before you that you are just now a part of now, and needing to walk away from that in order to step into that new chapter. And everything's going to change, honey, next year too, when Neptune actually leaves Pisces. So if you're not going to let go of it now, you're going to let go of it next year. Try to lean into this change rather than resisting it, because that's when your life is just going to get hard and consequential. On the 22nd, the sun enters Leo. It's Leo season, baby. Very bright, fun, exciting, dramatic. There's going to be a sextile to Neptune as it enters into Leo. Love that. Again, we're having a lot of Neptune stuff this month, and we're having a lot of Uranus stuff. Change, unpredictability, faith, belief, fantasy. Use all of those things positively, please, rather than against you, for your own sake. Mars will trine Pluto on the 22nd. If you weren't strong enough on the 21st to let go of something, you'll have a little extra strength on the 22nd, because there might be a fire beneath your butt where someone says something, you find something out, there's a piece of information where you're like, okay, you know what? I was a little bit scared yesterday, but now I'm ready to slam the door. Now I'm ready to walk away from this thing. Now I'm ready to shut this up, because Mars is taking action. It's decisions. It's making changes. And in Gemini, that's with your everyday thinking, your communication, your best friends, your siblings, transportation, connecting the dots, literally just changing your everyday mundane ways of thinking and communicating. And in that trine to Pluto being profound change, we're ready to move forward. We're ready for uncharted territory. We're ready to explore new ground. We're sick of this old story. We're sick of the same old story and knowing how it ends. We don't want to cling to familiarity anymore here. And Mars in Gemini is very fast. It's like someone juggling really fast. It's like those sped up clips of transitions between scenes and shows where it's like taking place in New York City and you see the cars zooming really fast. Like, it's so quick. If you feel slow and bored and like things are not moving quick enough for you, I'm surprised, one, because Jupiter is in Gemini. But if you're waiting for some speed underneath your butt, get ready for the end of the month, because things are going to pick up the pace very quickly, especially as Mars gets closer to Jupiter. That's going to happen in August. On the 23rd, the sun is going to oppose Pluto. Again, more intensity, more change, more letting go. I think that the final week of July, if the middle of the month didn't electrocute you enough with the person, or like the transits of Mars and Uranus, if that doesn't affect you personally, I feel like it's like you're just moseying around all July, and then the last week is like this grim turn of like metaphorical death, and you are like being rebirthed in the most intense way. There's something dies this summer. I'm not sure what that is. It's like Halloween in the summer sort of vibes in July, I feel. So off topic. There used to be this show on YouTube called Happy Tree Friends, and I don't recommend that you watch it. It was so disturbing, and I watched it when I was younger. And it looks like a children's cartoon, and it acts like a children's cartoon. Nothing about it is suspicious. It's like these little animals. I don't even think they really talk. They just go like, huh? Like they make these like animated expression noises. And 90% of every episode is like seems very innocently like a children's show. Like if I was a babysitter or like a parent or something and I saw my kid watching this, I would not think twice about it. The horrific thing about this show, these episodes on YouTube, were that the last like minute would always go from this very normal children's animated show to the most violent, gory, horrific ending, even though it was animated. And I showed it to my mom the other day and I literally couldn't even look at it. Like that's how disturbing it was. And like for example, it was like a little cat or something making lemonade. And at some point, like the eye falls out and it starts like making lemonade out of its eye. And it's so, I can't even talk about it. It's so gross. It's so disturbing. It's so intense. And I hate to be comparing July to Happy Tree Friends, but I feel like it's just like, if the month goes by as a breeze, it's not that the last week is bad. It's just that there's this very unexpected turn of events or intensity or major ending or confrontation or truth that July gifts us at the end of the month. And I say gift because while we can't sometimes in the face of these changes be grateful for them, we have to know that like in tarot, with every tower moment that comes out, we don't like looking at the tower card. It's people jumping out of a burning building. Like we don't want to be getting a reading and we see that and that's our future. But I always like giggle when someone gets the tower card because I'm like, it's a blessing in disguise. Everything needs to crumble and fall apart in order for things to come together. Sometimes we need to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough. And I think that the end of the month gives us that opportunity to go absolutely buck wild and let it all out at once. And sometimes when push comes to shove, we need to hit rock bottom in order to make that change, especially if you have fixed energy and you're very stubborn. That desperate grip on familiarity is loosening this month, whether we like it or not, and we should really invite in the change again instead of resisting it. And on the last day, or I'm sorry, not on the last day, but on the 26th, the sun is going to sextile Mars. So again, more fire beneath your butt to make decisions, take action, go after things, create change. And Chiron will station retrograde in Aries, bringing us a few months of reflecting on our pain, wounds, and sensitivities for the next few months based on the last few months. So looking, being able to unravel and look at our vulnerabilities, sensitivities, pain, wounds. And Chiron's been in Aries for years. This isn't new energy. It happens pretty much every summer until like December. And it can be very healing. I find that this time of year is where I'm facing the hard things, but it's liberating. Like it's cathartic for me. It can be emotional, but again, it's a background hum. It's not something that will probably slap you in the face every single day unless you literally have a placement at a cardinal sign. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn are at 23 degrees, I would say exact. But even loosely around there, like I have Saturn at 19 degrees of Aries. I know, screw me, right? And when Chiron was over it probably last year, and even the year before that, I felt it for sure. But that's just something to be mindful of. And I think that is just my general advice for the month. I'm going to include the Mars and Gemini video that I made 2 years ago in the description below. Please just give me grace that I know you guys probably won't care. I sometimes like critique myself a little bit too hard when I look at old videos because I'm just like, oh my God, that's not what I would say now. But hello, that's just the point of growing. But if it sounds like, not things I would say now, it's probably because I don't agree with those things anymore, or because like my encyclopedia inside of my mind of astrology has changed and evolved. I don't think I would have said anything too different than what I said now, but what was I talking about at the time? I low-key like really don't remember. I remember like laughing while I was recording it because it was just that was such a chaotic time having Mars and Gemini. But I think those will help you guys. If you have any questions for the month, as always, please let me know. Comment down below what you're going through. And yeah, I hope that this helps you guys. Have an amazing month. Have an amazing July. And embrace the change. And I will leave you with that. Okay, I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. Bye.